All right, welcome. I'm Dorothy. I'm a professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. So lots of classes there, lots of private sessions, all kinds of great stuff, tons of videos. You can also subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. Please do so. There's a little button in the top corner there for you. Just click on that and you'll be notified whenever I put up new videos, because I'm doing a whole new series. So today I want to talk about Mercury through the houses, but as it is as a temporary retrograde planet in the sign of Libra. It goes retrograde on September 17th and all the way through to October 9th, from 15 degrees of Libra to 0 degrees of Libra. What does that mean to you? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you about what Mercury in Libra and retrograde is all about, the first 2-3 minutes of this video. And then I'm going to talk about it in each house. So take notes in the beginning part, and then go find which house it is in for you by clicking on, it's going to be in the box below. I'm going to put a timestamp in for Mercury in the first house, Mercury in the second house, all the way through the 12th. So you don't have to sit there and listen to all of them that do not pertain to you. But most people will have Mercury retrograde moving through. You could be just one house or it could be two. So you might have to listen to two houses or one. You need to know your own chart to know where to do. But in the meantime, this generalization in the first 3 minutes about Mercury retrograde in Libra is important for everybody to understand. The house's position is just a little extra detail for you. Let's get started. How long did that take? 1:40. Okay. What I want to get started with, so Mercury in the sign of Libra is all about fair and balanced communication, plain and simple. We're going to see where we have overspoken ourselves, overstayed our welcome, where we have said too much or not enough. These things become clear and apparent to us very quickly, very easily, by somebody saying something to us or us not knowing anything or not hearing enough, because sometimes people are very, very silent with their Mercury in Libra energy. So while it's retrograde, we have an opportunity to open up. We have an opportunity to tell someone how they've made us feel, or tell someone where you need something from them, or being able to listen and receive those messages when somebody else is telling us something. Mercury retrograde is not always a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You know, bad stuff happens all the time. You don't have to blame Mercury for all of it. But what we do when Mercury is retrograde is we slow down and we go within. And this is not the same as being born with this. This is just the temporary condition, the temporary situation. It's not even a condition, it's a temporary situation where we're going to think things through, and we might think we're communicating, but we're not communicating well at all. The retrograde of Mercury can do that, and we can see where we have not communicated well, and then we can see where we need to communicate better. All right? So, Mercury moving through each of the houses and through each of the zodiac signs represents our shifts in the way we think, communicate, consciousness, things in that nature. Again, in Libra, we're looking for harmony in our communications in our everyday life. And that's what that Mercury energy in Libra is all about. How our words affect others is what comes up with this Mercury in Libra, and how we're feeling and what we're doing. And sometimes we just need to learn how to sit and be quiet with ourselves. These are the energies of Mercury in Libra. All right? So rewind a minute or two. Take notes on what I just said. Mercury in Libra is all about. And let's get on to Mercury in Libra retrograde through each one of the houses. Okay, let's get started. Mercury in the first house. All about expressing who I am. Who I am within the dynamic of a relationship. I know what I need. So if this retrograde of Mercury is moving through your first house in that sign of Libra, then that means that relationships are very, very important to you, but it's how they serve you. So what can come up with this is you're feeling either a lack of attention from a partner, or you feel like you're not being heard. Or somebody will come up to you over the next 3 weeks, the 3 weeks while it's retrograde, and let you know that you're overwhelming and you have you always dominate the conversations and you never listen. So that's the energy of what you can expect if Mercury as a retrograde planet right now is moving through your first house. All right, Mercury moving through the second house. So with Mercury moving through the second house as a retrograde planet, first off it went forward and now it's going back and it'll go forward again. That is all about what you value, you know, and here I like to use it as my skills and talents. How I use my skills and talents to earn a living or to create a financial bonus, for, you know, benefit for myself. And so if Mercury in Libra is moving through that area of your life, you know, what you value is going through some type of upheaval, and it doesn't have to be bad, it's only Mercury. So, no, that sounds terrible because it's my ruling planet. But Mercury is a quick moving planet, except for when it's retrograde. So what I'm trying to say here is that really sit down and think. Mercury, besides about communicating, it's all thinking too. Take some time and contemplate what your values are, because it's probably a pretty good chance that there's something in your life and some value is going through a shift and change right now. Allow it to happen and make sure you give yourself ample time to be quiet and sit still. Now, moving on to Mercury in the third house. Mercury is in its natural home in that house. So it's the natural ruler of Gemini, and when Mercury is in that third house in Libra, another air sign, you know, there is a lot of communication going on. So communication can get a bit mixed up when Mercury in Libra in the third house is all there. It's either there's too much going on, you're just running around your neighborhood, you're driving here and there, because the vehicles are always ruled by Mercury as well. Vehicles when we just go to local neighborhoods, not long distance travel, just sort of local pieces. You're just going to be so active and so busy, it's going to be very difficult to either find time for yourself or for your partner. All right? So when Mercury is retrograde through that third house, communication is definitely on the top of the list, and trying to sit still is going to be very difficult. Not that it's a bad thing, because it can keep you busy for 3 or 4 weeks, which is fun, right? I'm a Gemini, I think it's fun. It might not be so for you, but it depends on other things in your chart, other factors which we're not going into today. So Mercury moving through the third house definitely represents an amping up of communication and short distance travel. Next, Mercury in the fourth house. So Mercury retrograde transiting through the fourth house. That is home and family. So you are going to be somebody who is going to be required to do a lot of driving for the children or for your parents, your spouse. There's a lot going on at home. There's a lot of new contract work going on. Definitely read things through before I sign anything, but lots and lots of little things going on for you. So communicating and at home and spending time at home is going to be premium, because you're going to be running around for your family, for your children, doing lots of different things. And even if there's lots of little repairs that have to happen around the house, that's a pretty cool thing too. So that's some of the energy of what will go on while Mercury is in your fourth house. All right, fifth house. So what happens when Mercury transits through that fifth house? So Mercury in Libra, retrograde in the fifth house of creativity. Also the house where our children are, if you have children or responsible for your children, and it's our creativity. So Mercury moves through there. We can be very creative with our words. With Mercury in Libra in that sector, you know, we're looking for that balance in the creative things that we're doing. Could be we're working too hard and we don't have any time to play or be creative, or what we're passionate about. So while Mercury is retrograde in that sector for you, it's time to sit down and reconsider what you're passionate about and what you want to focus on when it is done its retrograde motion. Okay, moving on to the sixth house. Mercury in Libra, retrograde, moving through that sixth house. The sixth house is Virgo's natural home. Mercury is also the ruler of that sector of the chart in the natural order. And so with Mercury in Libra moving through there, basically what it comes down to is my work environment, my everyday environment, my work environment is very, very busy. Now, whatever's going on at work for you, this isn't for everybody, but whatever's going on, if this is in your sixth house, then there's, you know, your daily routine is going to be taking a shift. It's where it is for me, and I'm going to be doing a ton of videos. So that's Mercury talking and communicating. I don't know how many takes it's taken just to get to this point, but if I flub up now, I'm leaving it in. I've done a lot of takes today. that's the way I'm going to be using it, because Mercury is almost retrograde when I'm recording this. So it's already in that sector for me. So lots of talk, lots of communication, lots and lots of driving for my everyday work and my everyday living activities. That is Mercury in the 6th house. And by the way, it's also our daily health, the things we do on a regular basis for our health. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with doing too much, then I recommend that you still try and find some time for yourself. Be quiet, contemplate, just watch TV or listen to some music. Do that, use your senses. There we go. And that will help you chill out a little bit, because things get pretty busy for Mercury moving through that 6th house. All right. Okay. Moving on. Mercury moving through the 7th house in the sign of Libra. So that means if you've got Libra on that sector, you've got your chart set up in the natural order of things, and Libra in the 7th house means you're somebody who's, relationships are so very important for you when Libra is on that house. Whether you're in one or have never been in one, I swear, you learn as much about relationships being in them as not being in them, all right? Because you learn what you want and also what you don't want. Either way, Mercury retrograde in Libra in that 7th house, which is Libra's natural home. Communicating with your partner is the absolute most important thing. Now, if it's a spousal relationship, that's one way we call partner. If it's, domestic partners as well, but we also have business partners that are there. And even when it comes to situations like court situations where we're in an open dialogue, an open debate with somebody in court, it's called open enemies, people you know who are against you. That's also that Libra energy. If you have Mercury retrograde in your 7th house, then it could very well be that a court case that's been going on for a long time is finally settled, or there is just more information is being revealed during this time. Or, like I already mentioned, you're really opening communication with your partner, whatever type of partner this is, or you realize that this is just basically double Mercury Libra energy, since it's in Libra's natural home of the 7th house. Partnerships and relationships are absolutely key if it's in there for you. All right, moving on to the 8th house. That Mercury retrograde in Libra in the 8th house. That 8th house is all about transformation. It's also about the finances and the outside resources that you get to use that is other people's, like spousal support. If you're a parent that stays home and raises the children and the other spouse is the one who supports you. That's 8th house. The transformation piece of the 8th house is all about digging in deep and realizing how much words can affect us. Because words are powerful. That's a key thing when we work with Mercury retrograde. A lot of us have an opportunity to learn how powerful our words are. So we need to be careful if you have that Mercury retrograde in that 8th house. This is a cautionary tale for you guys. Because that 8th house, we can say one word and it can dig really deep. So with Mercury transiting through that at this period in time, it's an opportunity for you to really dig in deep and say what you mean. You can really hurt somebody too, so you need to be careful. So examine what you're going to say. Be cautious with your words. And also be cautious with your finances, since this is outside resources. You don't want to sign your life away. You don't want to take on a huge mortgage that you can't afford. When it moves through the 8th house, that's money we get to borrow. It's also credit cards, death, sex, taxes, transformation. Mercury moving through that sector in Libra is looking for harmony in all of those things. While it's retrograde, we get to have time to contemplate, which means these issues can come up for us to examine. We call them problems, but they're always learning opportunities. I know, I hear you. I have problems too. And when we're through them, then we can get out of our ego space and realize that they were great lessons, right? I hope so. Let's move on to Mercury moving through the 9th house. That 9th house is Sagittarius' natural home. So this is where we can expand our awareness and really learn more. Mercury retrograde in there. Again, Mercury is just a fast-moving, quick hitter, but when it's in its opposite house of what it naturally rules, which is the 3rd, this is the 9th, with it moving through the 9th house, we have an opportunity for it to look at different energies, different different ways of understanding the world around us, because that's where we expand our awareness through learning, through travel, through foreign travel, and through education. And Mercury is more of local. It's not so expansive. It's about information, but it's not the massive, expansive information that we would get like having a college education as opposed to elementary school. So when the energies are like this, we get both. We get the energy of expansion, but we also get the energy of looking at the fine details and seeing what works best for us. So there's a new opportunity here for learning and for expansion. And while we do that, just make sure you take that time while the retrograde planet is retrograde and go slow, all right? So if you're thinking of taking some new college courses or metaphysical courses or things like that, just take your time to make the decision. If you want to wait till after October 9th, that's even better, because more information gets revealed during these retrograde periods. All right, moving on. When Mercury moves through that 10th house, that's the career sector. So Mercury's up there. There's a lot of negotiating going on at work, whether you're negotiating for a new position or you're a salesperson and you're needing to speak with more people than you're used to, or reconnecting with other people. This has a lot to do with what your career is all about and how the world sees you and how you're presenting yourself to the world. So the cautionary thing is like, hopefully you won't put your foot in your mouth, or haven't done that. If you have, then now's the opportunity while it's retrograde for you to smooth things over, fix anything that has gone wrong as far as what you might have said. This is mainly a big focus on the career point though, all right? That 10th house is represented our public image and our career. So with Mercury retrograde in that sector, we have an opportunity, again, like I mentioned, to go over past work, old work. We may have made mistakes we need to fix and clear. Perfect thing to be doing during retrograde. Integrating information that we need for our work, all right? So now it's also a spouse too. Sometimes it's about our marital status as well. So Mercury retrograde up there, if we're looking at the marital status, then there could be a little bit of information. I don't know, what really can go on with that? It's such a quick hitting planet. I don't see it as really affecting the status of your marriage, marital status at all. But mainly I see it as, again, the work, something that we have to do every day. You may just need to communicate better with your spouse too, but I would think that would be more the 7th house than the 10th. But you decide. Because there's always a few different ways these things can work out, All right, moving on to Mercury moving through another air house, which is the 11th house. All right, so if you have Libra in that sector and Mercury is retrograde up there, then redefining who you want to belong to, what causes you want to be a member of, what groups you want to be a member of. You may have decided that a group you've been a part of for a long time doesn't fit you anymore. This is also the house of friendships. So this is a sector where you may decide that your friendships are not worth, there's some friendships that are just kind of going to the wayside. Or an old friend may come back into your acquaintance again, and you get to reconnect. So all about friends and groups, whether you're reconnecting or letting people go. This is really the highlight of all of it when Mercury goes through that sector, especially as a retrograde planet. Now, that sector is also our hopes and dreams and goals. So there is an opportunity here to redefine what your goals are in life. So if you have Mercury in that sector, Mercury retrograde in Libra is in that sector for you, then you might have an opportunity here to reassess certain goals in your life, which is fantastic. Why not, right? It's always good to fine-tune things. All right, the final house, so I'm going to move on to Mercury retrograde in Libra in the 12th house. Now, this is going to stir up dreams, especially if you're somebody who does remember their dreams. We all dream, just not all of us remember. But Mercury in that sector is going to stir up dreams. It's going to stir up hidden things, especially things that we've said. Inner dialogue is what I get the most with this. That inner dialogue where we speak badly about ourselves or think poorly about ourselves. Those are the hard parts, and when Mercury moves through that sector, usually it only takes about 3 weeks at once a year. But if you've got it in there now during this retrograde period, you've got about a 9-week period. Like I said in the beginning, 3 times the amount of time moving through one sector is usually. So Mercury moving through that 12th house, I want you just to be very cautious of that internal dialogue, conscious of what you're saying to yourself, who you're calling ugly, or who you think has too many wrinkles, or who you think is fat. You know how you do that, we all do that to, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us do that to ourselves, and that's not a good thing. So this is an opportunity to become aware of that internal dialogue, become aware of how much you complain to yourself and to others. All right, become aware of these things, and then you're able to, as soon as you're aware of it, the energy shifts immediately. And so that's the whole theme behind all of this for everybody, house 1 through 12. All right, is that we become aware of certain things that we need to understand about ourselves with Mercury retrograde. And it gives us opportunities to work through and to fix things that aren't working in our own lives. It doesn't have to cause chaos. It doesn't create chaos. You create that. I create it. I create what I expect. And what's your reality? All right? So, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Libra is very thinking, very analytical, also movable, changeable. Take some time to think things through and fix your communication issues if you have them. All right, I'll leave you with that. Please share and subscribe to this channel. There's a link at the top in the corner. And thank you very much for watching. And yeah, please share this video with others. I appreciate it. Blessed be. Namaste.